Helen Martinez stepped out of the shuttle and looked at the Galactic Council station. It was huge, made of silver and blue metal that caught the light from the nearby star. Ships from dozens of alien species filled the docking bays. She felt small, but she did not let it show on her face. Her assistant, a young man named Cross, carried the Earth flag and walked beside her. He was nervous. Helen could see it in the way he held his shoulders tight. "This is it," Helen said to him. "This is where Earth makes its stand." The council chambers were even bigger than the station outside. Tall windows showed the endless stars. Alien delegates sat at tables arranged in a circle. Some had 4 arms, some had skin that looked like scales. Some did not look like anything Helen had ever seen before. The coalition sat in the upper section. There were 5 of them. They were tall and thin, with skin that shone like metal. Their eyes were black and empty. Helen did not feel welcome when they looked at her. The head of the council, a named, stood up. Were close to human in shape, but their skin was blue and their eyes were large and kind. "We welcome the human representative," said. His voice was deep and strong. "Dr. Helen Martinez, you speak for Earth. You are the first human to stand in this chamber. This is a great honor." Helen stepped forward. She wore a dark suit with the Earth logo on her chest. Her dark hair was pulled back tight. Her face showed no fear. "I thank you," Helen said. "I speak for Earth and its people. We come to this council in peace. We wish to join the community of worlds. We wish to trade, to learn, and to work together for the good of all." They did not clap. They did not make any sound at all. Helen saw one of them lean over and whisper to another. She already knew they did not want her there. The first day of meetings was about trade agreements and research partnerships. Helen spoke about Earth's resources. She talked about human science and art. She used words that were simple and clear. The other delegates listened. Some of them asked questions that showed real interest. But they watched her walk, they watched her eat, they watched her talk to other delegates. Helen felt their eyes on her like a weight. That night, Helen was in her quarters. Her room was small but clean. It had a view of space. She sat at the window and sent a message to Earth. She used a secure channel. Only Captain David Harrison would receive it. "The council is open to us," she wrote. "But the coalition does not want us here. I can feel it. I will be careful." Captain Harrison's reply came a few hours later. "You are there to make the contact work. Do not worry about the coalition. They are jealous of new members. Focus on the other delegates." Helen read his words again. Focus on the other delegates. Yes, that was right. She knew how to build trust. She had done it before in places much darker than this. The next day came to find her in the common area. That was big, almost 2 meters tall, but he moved with grace. "Dr. Martinez said, I wondered if you would join me for a meal. There is a good place that serves food from many worlds." Helen smiled. "I would like that very much." The restaurant was small and warm. Other species sat at different tables, talking and eating, ordered food that was safe for both of them. They talked about many things, told Helen about his world. He told her about the great forests there and the long rivers. "Your species is new to the stars," said. "This is both good and hard." "Why is it hard?" Helen asked. "Because there are those who see new worlds as threats. Some fear what they do not know. Others see profit in keeping new species weak." Helen felt her heart beat faster, but she kept her voice calm. Took a long drink of his beverage. He looked out the window at the ships passing by. "You are smart," he said. "I will not lie to you, Dr. Martinez. There are forces in the council that do not want Earth to rise. They are afraid of what humans might become." "What do you think we will become?" Helen asked. Turned back to look at her. His large eyes were serious. "I think you will become something great," he said. "I see it in you. There is steel in you, even if you hide it well. I see a survivor." Helen did not answer right away. No one had said that to her since she left No one in the diplomatic world knew what she had lived through. "Thank you," she said finally. "Be careful," said. "The coalition meets in secret places. I have heard rumors of plans. They do not want to fail again in stopping a new species. They will not be careful about rules. They will not worry about witnesses." Helen looked at. She saw that he was warning her. He was taking a risk by telling her the coalition met in a hidden room deep inside their private vessel. No security cameras could see inside. No listening devices could record what they said. The 5 coalition leaders sat around a black table with the image of a human projected in the center. Dr. Helen Martinez, the lead said. His name was Vex. He was older than the others, and his skin had dark lines across it like scars. Age 37, born on Earth, medical training, now a diplomat. One of the other, a female named Lyra, leaned forward. She is alone, Lyra said. She has no military background. She is soft. She worries about things like honor and kindness. These are weaknesses. The humans are few, Vex said. They have only been in space for 4 years. Their technology is basic. If we remove her now, they will have no one to speak for them. Earth will never gain a seat on the Council. We will block them from trade agreements. We will block them from technology sharing. Within 10 years, Earth will be forgotten. And if we fail? Another asked. His name was Moore. He was younger and less patient than the others. If we make a move and fail, the Council will investigate us. They will find our intentions. We will not fail, Vex said. This is not a warrior we face. This is a doctor who speaks soft words and makes peace agreements. She will not see what is coming until it is too late. Lyra smiled. It was not a kind smile. The question is how. We must make it look like an accident. The Council watches everything now. They are suspicious of us already. Vex stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars stretched forever. The image of Helen Martinez still hung in the air behind him. There is a gala reception in 3 days, Vex said. All the delegates will be there. It will be crowded. There will be confusion. A poison that works slowly would be perfect. She would collapse later, far from the event. No one would know where it came from. The Council would think it was a natural death. And who will give her the poison? Moore asked. I will, Lyra said. She was already thinking about the details. I will approach her as a new friend. I will tell her I admire her courage. I will tell her that not all oppose humanity. I will invite her to have a drink with me. She is the type who trusts too easily. She will accept. The meeting ended. They left the room one by one. They believed they had planned something perfect. They believed Helen Martinez would be dead in 1 week. Back in the Council chambers, Helen was working with the other delegates on a new trade agreement. The meeting was long and boring. Delegates from 6 different species had 6 different ideas about what the agreement should contain. Helen listened to all of them. She made notes. She asked careful questions. By the time the meeting ended, she was tired. She went to the common area to get food and water. That is when she saw Lyra standing near the wall, watching her. Helen had been thinking about warning. She had been watching for signs of danger. She had learned long ago that the best way to survive was to see problems before they happened. Lyra approached her with a smile. Dr. Martinez, Lyra said, I have been listening to you speak in the meetings. You are impressive. Many of us do not know much about humans. I would like to learn more. Helen studied Lyra's face. She saw kindness there, or what looked like kindness. But Helen had learned to see beyond faces. She had learned to see intentions. That is kind of you, Helen said. What would you like to know? Many things, Lyra said. I would like to invite you to the gala reception. It would give us a chance to talk away from the formality of the Council. Helen's mind worked fast. She was being tested. This was the first move. She was sure of it. I would enjoy that, Helen said. I plan to attend the gala anyway. Perhaps we could meet there. Lyra's smile stayed in place, but Helen saw something shift in her eyes. A small moment of disappointment or calculation. Of course, Lyra said. I look forward to it. Helen watched Lyra walk away. She went back to her quarters and sent an encrypted message to Captain Harrison. They are moving against me. A named Lyra tried to get me alone before the gala reception. I think they plan to poison me. I need you to listen to what I tell you next. I need you to understand what I used to be. Captain Harrison did not respond right away. Helen knew he was in a meeting or sleeping. She waited. 3 hours later, his message came back. I know what you used to be. I read your file when you applied for the diplomatic position. I know you survived things that kill most people. But you said you were done with that life. You said you wanted peace. Helen read his words and felt sadness. She had wanted peace. She had left thee and spent years learning to be someone different. She had learned to speak in soft tones and make careful agreements. She had learned to believe that the world could be changed through talking and understanding. But that had never left her. The skills she learned there, the ways of seeing danger and moving with purpose, they were still inside her. They had never gone away. She sent her answer. I was done with that life, but that life is not done with me. They have chosen to make this a war. They just do not know it yet. I will stop them. and I will do it in a way that protects Earth. That is what matters now." She closed the computer and lay back on her bed. She thought about the gala reception in 3 days. She thought about Lyra and the poison. She thought about the years she had spent trying to leave her past behind. The past, Helen knew, was never as far behind as a person wanted it to be. The next day, Helen asked Cross to help her research the poison protocols. She told him it was for a defensive brief about Council safety. "I want to know what poisons could be used in food or drink," she said. "I want to know what symptoms they cause and how fast they work." Did not ask why. He was a good assistant. He gathered information from the Council database and brought it to her. Helen studied everything carefully. She memorized the names of 5 different poisons that had access to. She memorized the symptoms. She memorized the time it took for each one to work. By the time she finished reading, Helen was ready. She had already begun to transform. The diplomat with Helen sat in the secure communication room. The walls were thick. No one could hear or see what happened inside. She requested a video call with Captain David Harrison. His face appeared on the screen after a few moments. Harrison was older, maybe 55. He had gray in his hair and lines around his eyes from years of commanding people in dangerous situations. He had been the one to recruit Helen for the diplomatic program. He had seen something in her that no one else saw. "Hello, Helen," he said. His voice was careful, controlled. He knew this was not a normal report. "I need to tell you something," Helen said. "Something I have never told anyone in the diplomatic program. Something that changes how I need to respond to what is happening here." Harrison nodded. He leaned back in his chair and waited. Helen took a deep breath. She had not talked about this in a long time. She had tried to forget it, but there was no forgetting. "Before I became a doctor, I was something else," Helen said. "I was a field medic in the West African crisis zone, from 2018 to 2023. 5 years in a place where things were not as simple as peace and war." Harrison's face did not change. He had known this. He had read her file. "I was stationed at Camp Bastion in Nigeria," Helen continued. "We were there to help. We treated civilians and soldiers. We tried to make a difference. But the situation got worse, much worse." Helen stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the stars, but in her mind she was looking back at dust and blood and screaming. In 2021, a coordinated attack happened. Every medical facility in the zone was targeted. They wanted to destroy our ability to treat the sick and hurt. We were supposed to evacuate. Command said abandon the position. Helen turned back to look at Harrison. "I did not evacuate," she said. "I stayed. There were children in the facility, orphans from the fighting. I could not leave them. I stayed and I hid them. And I did things, Captain, things that kept them alive." "What kind of things?" Harrison asked. He already knew some of it, but he wanted to hear it from Helen. "I set traps, simple ones. I made barriers. I learned where the fighters would come and how they would come. I studied their patterns. I used what I had to slow them down. I made decisions about who to protect and how. I learned that sometimes you have to hurt people to save people." Helen sat back down. "I was there for 8 months after the attack. 8 months of hiding and planning and moving. 8 months of keeping 7 children alive in a place where death was everywhere. In the end, a rescue team came from the UN. They got us out." "Why did you leave the military?" Harrison asked. "Because I needed to leave that person behind," Helen said. "The person I became in that place. I did not recognize myself anymore. I could not sleep. I could not eat. I would wake up thinking people were attacking. I decided to become a civilian. I became a doctor, a healer, not a warrior." "And now," Harrison asked. "Now they have made a choice," Helen said. "They have chosen to make me their target. They do not know that I have lived through situations that would break most people. They see a diplomat. They do not see a survivor. But that person from thee is still inside me, Captain, and if the push this forward, that person will come out." Harrison was quiet for a long moment. "What do you need from me?" he asked. "I need your permission to handle this my way," Helen said. "Not the diplomatic way, not the safe way, the real way. I need to stop them, and I need to do it in a manner that shows the Council that Earth is not weak, that we will not be pushed around, that when you try to destroy us, we survive." "That is dangerous," Harrison said. "So is Helen said. "But I lived through that. I can live through this too." Harrison leaned forward. His eyes were serious now. "Tell me your plan," he said. Helen explained everything. She told him about Lyra and the poison. She told him about the gala reception. She told him how she planned to switch her drink and let the poison be given to someone else. She told him how she would expose the in front of the entire council. "They will know what we have done," Harrison said. "They will know that Earth is defending itself. That might make them angry." "Yes," Helen said, "but it will also make them respect us. Fear and respect are close cousins, Captain. Right now, the Council fears after this, the Council will also fear Earth. We will be equal. And they will be exposed as liars and killers. The Council will censure them. They will lose influence. And most importantly, they will know that we are not what they thought we were." Harrison sat back. He looked tired. "I was wrong to ask you to be only a diplomat," he said. "You are a soldier, Helen. You are a warrior. You just do not want to be. But the galaxy does not care what you want to be. It only cares what you are." "I can be both," Helen said. "I can be a diplomat and a survivor. That is what Earth needs right now." "Okay," Harrison said. "Do it your way. But Helen, be careful. Do not do anything that cannot be justified. Do not kill anyone. Do not cross a line that you cannot come back from." "I will not," Helen said. "I learned that killing changes you. It makes you less human. I will stop but I will do it in a way that lets me sleep at night." The call ended. Helen sat alone in the secure room. She thought about the children she had saved She thought about the people she had hurt to save them. She thought about the years she had spent trying to be someone different. Now she had to be both, the diplomat and the soldier, the healer and the protector. The gala reception was tomorrow night. Helen went back to her quarters and started to prepare. She looked at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back at her was not the frightened refugee who had left but she was not just the careful diplomat either. She was someone caught between two worlds, someone who had survived impossible things, someone who the gala reception was held in the grand hall of the council station. The room was massive. High ceilings rose at least 30 meters above the floor. The walls were made of clear material, and through them the stars looked close enough to touch. Hundreds of delegates from dozens of species filled the room. There was music. There was food and drink from 100 different worlds. There were conversations and laughter and the sound of beings from different species trying to understand each other. Helen entered wearing her dark suit. Her hair was pulled back tight. She wore no jewelry. She moved through the crowd with confidence, but inside her mind she was mapping the room. She was noting the exits. She was calculating distances and timing. She saw near the bar, was talking to a group of delegates from a species Helen did not recognize. He saw her and nodded slightly. He knew what was happening tonight. Helen had told him the truth 2 days ago. She needed at least one ally in the council. Had listened to her story, he had believed her, and he had promised to watch what happened. Helen moved toward the main food area. There were tables with dishes from every world represented on the council. The drinks were in a separate section. Glasses were made fresh at the bar or taken from servers who moved through the crowd. Helen picked up a glass of water from a server and held it in her hand. She did not drink from it. She walked slowly through the crowd, making conversation. She stopped to talk with delegates from She was normal. She was pleasant. She was a diplomat at a party. Then she saw Lyra. The female was standing near the drink station. She was watching Helen. When Lyra saw Helen was looking at her, she smiled and approached. "Dr. Martinez," Lyra said, "I am so happy you came. You look beautiful tonight." "Thank you," Helen said. "You also look impressive." "Come," Lyra said. "Let me introduce you to some other delegates, and perhaps we can have a drink together. There is a special beverage I think you would enjoy. It is made from earth fruits, actually. It reminded me of you." Helen nodded and followed Lyra to the bar. She watched carefully as Lyra ordered 2 drinks from the bartender. She watched Lyra point to the specific beverage she wanted. The bartender prepared the drinks. Helen saw him reach for something from a hidden shelf below the bar, a small container. He put a clear liquid into Helen's drink, just a few drops, the poison. The bartender handed the drinks to Lyra. Helen's drink was in Lyra's left hand. A drink for Lyra was in her right hand. "Here," Lyra said, offering the glass to Helen, the one with the poison. Helen took the glass. She held it carefully, never letting the rim touch her lips. "Let us find a quiet place to talk," Helen said. They walked together to a corner of the room away from the main crowd. Helen waited. She was patient. She knew how to wait. After a few minutes, she said, I feel very warm, this drink is very strong, I need to sit down. Helen set her glass down on a nearby table. She sat in a chair and put her hand to her head as if she was feeling dizzy. Are you okay? Lyra asked, but there was no real concern in her voice. There was satisfaction. She thought the poison was working. Helen looked up at Lyra with weakness in her eyes. I will be fine. I just need a moment, but you should enjoy your drink. You look like you could use something to calm your nerves. Helen picked up Lyra's drink from the table where Lyra had set it. She offered it to the... Lyra did not think. She was too confident in her plan. She took the drink and drank from it. It took 7 minutes for the poison to begin working. 7 minutes where Helen watched Lyra's face change. 7 minutes where this body began to show the symptoms of the poison she had planned to use on Helen. Lyra's skin began to show dark marks. Her breathing became heavy. She tried to stand up and could not. What have you done? Lyra gasped. What you planned to do to me, Helen said calmly, but I switched our drinks. Helen stood up. She did not help Lyra. She did not call for medical help. She simply stood and watched as other delegates noticed that something was wrong. The commotion spread through the party like wind through fire. Delegates crowded around Lyra. Medical personnel rushed to help, but Helen had already moved. She walked to the center of the main platform. She looked at the hundreds of faces turned toward her. I have something to say, Helen said. Her voice was strong and clear. Something that the council needs to hear. Was already moving toward the platform. Other senior delegates gathered around. The coalition planned to kill me tonight, Helen said. They have been planning to eliminate the human representative since I arrived. They believed I was weak. They believed I would be an easy target. They were wrong. The who were not sick rushed toward Helen, but before they could reach her, moved to block them. Security said. Security forces appeared immediately. They took hold of the coalition members and held them in place. Helen continued. I have evidence, I have recordings, I have the poison that was used, I have the bartender who prepared the drinks. All of this is proof of the coalition's conspiracy. She pulled up a holographic display in the air above the platform. It showed the meeting. It showed them discussing how to kill her. It showed them planning to block Earth from the council. The entire room fell silent. Everyone looked at the images. Everyone understood what had happened. The human species will not be eliminated, Helen said. We will not be blocked or pushed aside. We are here and we will stay here. The council wanted to know what humans are. Now you know, we are survivors. Helen stepped down from the platform. She walked toward the medical team that was treating Lyra. She walked with purpose. She walked with the confidence of someone who had already survived much worse than a room full of angry aliens. One of the coalition members tried to grab her as she passed. His hand shot out. Helen moved like water. She twisted. She ducked. She used his own movement against him. She put him on the ground without violence. She simply moved him out of her way. The others saw this. They saw that the fragile diplomat could move like a trained fighter. They understood that they had made a terrible mistake. Security took Lyra away. Medical teams worked on her. The poison would not kill her, but it would make her very sick for a long time. That was the point. Helen wanted the coalition to suffer. She wanted them to understand what they had tried to do. The party ended. Everyone left the grand hall. Delegates whispered and talked. In one night, everything had changed. Helen returned to her quarters. She sat in the dark and looked out at the stars. She thought about the children she had saved. She thought about the person she had been. She was not sure if she was proud of what she had done, but she knew it was necessary. She knew it was right. The next morning, the council convened in emergency session. The coalition was censured. They were stripped of some of their power. They were investigated by the council's authority. And Earth's representative, Dr. Helen Martinez, was invited to sit in the center of the chamber, where the most 2 weeks after the gala reception, the final council vote took place. The vote was about Earth's admission to the full trading network of the galactic community. The coalition could not stop it. They were too weak now, too exposed. The vote was overwhelming. Earth was in. Helen stood in the council chambers as the announcement was made. Cross was beside her, holding the Earth flag. His eyes were full of tears. Captain Harrison watched the live feed from Earth. He stood in the command center with thousands of other people. When the announcement came, they cheered, they screamed, they celebrated. Humanity had taken its place among the stars. But Helen did not feel like celebrating. She felt something more complicated. After the vote approached her, there was smiling. "You did it," said. "You brought Earth into the galactic community." "No," Helen said. "I brought fear into the galactic community. I showed them that Earth is dangerous. That is not the same as being welcome." "In this galaxy," said, "fear and respect are the same thing. You have earned both. That is something." Helen nodded. She knew was right. In a galaxy full of species with military power and advanced technology, being feared was the only thing that would keep Earth safe. Vex, the leader of the coalition, was removed from his position. He was being investigated for conspiracy and attempted murder. The other members of the coalition were also being removed. They had lost their power on the council. But Helen knew they would never forgive her. They would remember. They would wait. One day they might try again. That night, Helen sent a message to Captain Harrison. "We have won," she wrote. "But I need you to understand something. They are not done with us. They will be looking for a way to strike back. Earth needs to prepare. We need to build our military. We need to develop technology. We need to be strong in a way that goes beyond diplomacy." Harrison's reply came quickly. "I know, the government is already making plans. We will build our strength slowly. But Helen, you have shown us something. You have shown us that one human can face down an entire conspiracy. That one person with courage can change everything. That is what Earth needs to remember." Helen sat with those words for a long time. She thought about what Captain Harrison had said. She thought about the children she had saved there. A few days later, Helen was asked to give a presentation to the council. She stood in front of all the delegates and told them the truth about Earth. She told them about the struggles. She told them about the difficulties of building a civilization on a world as harsh as Earth. "My world is not an easy place," Helen said. "We live on a planet that tries to kill us. We have weather that destroys, we have diseases, we have earthquakes and floods and fires, but because of this we are strong. We are adaptable, we survive." She paused and looked at each species in the chamber. "The coalition thought I was weak because I am a diplomat. They thought I was easy to kill because I believe in peace. They did not understand that the strength of humans comes not from weapons, but from our will to survive, from our ability to protect those we love, from our courage when everything around us is trying to break us." The warlike species applauded. The who valued honor nodded. Even species Helen did not know well seemed to understand what she was saying. The presentation changed how the council viewed Earth. It changed how they viewed humans. They began to see Earth not as a weak new species, but as a species forged in fire. A species that had learned to survive against impossible odds. Trade agreements began to flow in. Technology was offered. Knowledge was shared. Earth began to grow stronger faster than anyone expected. But Helen's role changed. She was no longer just a diplomat. She was something more. She was a symbol. She was proof that humans were worth respecting. 1 month after the vote, Helen was having lunch within the common area. They had become friends, real friends. "I have been thinking about something," said, "about why the coalition chose you as a target." "Because I was new," Helen said, "because they thought I was alone." "No," said, "I think they chose you because they sensed what you really are. They sensed the strength in you. They were right to fear you. They just did not plan correctly. They did not understand that the most dangerous opponent is one who does not want to fight, one who has already survived the worst." Helen smiled. She thought about this. She thought about how true it was. "What will you do now?" asked. "Will you stay as the Earth ambassador?" "Yes," Helen said, "for a while, until Earth is strong enough not to need someone like me, until we have our own voice in the galaxy." "And then I will go home," Helen said. "I will go back to Earth and see what we have built. I will see the children. I will see the places where humans live and create and dream. And I will remember that we came from and we survived." Raised his glass. "To survival," he said. Helen raised her glass. "To survival," she agreed. That night, Helen was in her quarters. She watched the video feed from Earth. She saw cities and forests. She saw oceans and mountains. She saw humans living their lives, not knowing how close they had come to being blocked from the galaxy forever. She sent one final message to Captain Harrison. "Thank you for believing in me," she wrote. "Thank you for seeing what I could be when I did not see it myself. I am proud to be human. I am proud that we survived. And I am proud to represent Earth to the stars." Harrison wrote back, "No, thank you for showing us what we are capable of. You were right about one thing. Fear and respect are the same thing in this galaxy, but you taught us something more important. You taught us that the only thing that really matters is that we keep fighting, that we keep trying, that we survive. Helen closed the computer. She stood at the window and looked out at the stars. She thought about the coalition and their plan to eliminate her. She thought about how they had chosen the wrong target. But more than that, she thought about Earth, about humanity, about what they would become now that they had a real place in the galaxy. The old Helen, the survivor, was still inside her. But the new Helen, the diplomat and bridge between worlds, was also real. She had become both. She had become something more than either alone. And as she stood there looking at the endless stars, Helen Martinez knew one thing for certain. Humanity would rise. They would grow. They would take their place among the species of the galaxy. Not because they were the strongest, not because they had the best technology, but because they had learned over thousands of years on a harsh world how to survive, how to adapt, how to protect those they loved. And that, Helen thought, was worth more than any weapon. That was worth more than any alliance. That was the real strength of the human species. The coalition had learned it too late, but the rest of the galaxy was beginning to understand. Earth was here to stay. Delegates sat. Do not break no matter what came next. Helen opened her closet and looked at the dark suit she had worn to the first council meeting. Tomorrow she would wear it again. Tomorrow they would discover that they had chosen the wrong target. Tomorrow the real Helen Martinez would step into the light. Soft Words was stepping back. The survivor was stepping forward. The gala reception was going to be very interesting. "Yes, I will be careful," Helen said, "and I will remember that are friends to Earth." Nodded, he finished his meal, and they walked back to the council station together. The stars above them shone bright and cold and distant. Helen went to her quarters. She looked in the mirror at her own face. She had changed so much since the days. She had learned to speak soft words and wear nice clothes. She had learned to smile at meetings and shake hands with diplomats. But the old Helen was still there, the one who had survived things that killed stronger people, the one who had learned to think clear and fast when everything around her was chaos and death. Helen pulled up her computer. She sent another secure message to Captain Harrison. "The coalition is planning something," she wrote. "I need you to know that I am ready. Whatever they plan, I will not break. I will not run. Earth needs this." She closed the message and looked back out at the stars. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, she allowed herself to remember who she really was.